Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this week's session of the Pulse Live. I hope everyone has had a great weekend. I'm Maria.
This is Tim.
It was definitely another interesting week. We're definitely still seeing some of that volatility. Tim, I know you
Well,
missed Friday.
I did, and we say it all the time. We're just one tweet away, and I think Thursday afternoon proved that again, that we are just one tweet away from, the market rising or falling. So it's just another week.
Just another week. Well, let's talk a little bit about what happened last week. So let's see. Last week ended on a lower note over continued fears of a potential trade war and the Fed's tightening bias. The Dow fell as many as 767 points on Friday before pairing losses later in the day. That recovery coincided with a bounce in the S&P 500 after it breached the 200-day moving average of 2594. On a positive note, the breach of that key technical level brought buyers back out, pushing the S&P back above the 200-day by the closing bell. The Dow ended Friday down 572 points, closing at 23,932. The Nasdaq ended the day at 6915, down 161 points, and the S&P closed down 58 points, ending at 2604. Crude slumped to its second straight weekly loss as a larger than expected draw in crude stockpiles midweek was mostly overshadowed by escalating trade war fears, dampening demand for riskier assets. Gold bounced back from last week's slump to post a weekly gain on Friday. Dollar weakness also supported upside momentum in precious metals as the greenback struggled to find its footing amid a mixed jobs report Friday. Despite falling about 0.5% on Friday, the dollar posted a weekly gain, but still closed the week relatively unchanged. Every sector ended with a loss, with industrial suffering the largest decline. Tech, financials, and healthcare all underperformed, while losses in consumer discretionaries and energy also weighed heavily. So let's move on to some other stuff, Tim. Did you have anything that you wanted me to start off with?
I didn't. Let me look and guys and gals, I apologize. I'm traveling, so if I'm hit or miss in service, I'm in the mountains coming from Virginia back to Tennessee, so we are a little hit and miss here. I know there were some low float movers, Maria. I missed Friday, and I know AMRS did well, I think.
So Amy was actually down a little bit on Friday. However, and guys, if you're looking at the screen, I do have an old support line drawn on here. It briefly broke under the support that I was watching at 667, but it bounced back above it. So we are still in calls, and I do want Amy to kind of hold this line. Well, what is this line? 667, like I just said, 667. So that's kind of where I want it to hold. I'd like to see a little bit of upward movement further off of this line.
Maria, somebody had sent me, and I'm hoping I get all these. eBio was one of them.
Yeah, so eBio, the old support line that we were watching, because we talked about this either last week or the week prior, was a $1.30. Friday closed at a $1.50, up 11 cents. Really nice move. I would like this to now hold probably about 140, let's say 138 or even 135 or so to 140 is really where I'd like to see this continue holding. Still,
Wow,
moving nicely after that last ER.
that actually held up well. I mean, the way the market did, I was surprised. That's very good.
I know, right? It was definitely refreshing to see at least one thing close green.
And somebody had also sent me a note about CASI.
Cassie, let's look at Cassie.
I haven't had a chance to look at anything. We've been metal detecting and traveling, so.
So interesting, interesting move. It hit a high of 759, closed the day at 701. Kind of double topped, close enough to a double top up here. Pulled back, but I like where it found this support, or where it bounced off of. So it bounced off, well, pretty much that 676. Let's say, what is this? The bottom of this wick is about 660. It bounced off of that, and started to move back up. So I'm definitely just keeping an eye on it for potential continuation.
One more, Maria. The last one I had was LMFA.
So LMFA, this one, interesting move, spiked up, and let me just double check because I don't think that I saw news on this one. I did look it up earlier, and I did not see any news. No, and I still don't see any news on it. But nice pop, came down, consolidated, popped up again, hit a high of 98, got pushed back from that dollar, came back down, but still closed the day at 70.799, so about 80 cents or so. That rejection of that dollar, that is kind of big for at least me. I would have wanted to see it pop, I would have wanted to see it pop over that dollar. Still just kind of keeping an eye on it to see if it makes another attempt.
Very cool. That's the only ones people had sent me for this one.
Let's look a little bit about at next week. So next week, we've got quite a lot going on next week. All eyes will be on escalating trade rhetoric as investors try to work out whether a series of tit for tat responses between the US and China will end in negotiations or an all out trade war between the world's two largest economies. Market participants will focus on a much anticipated speech by the Chinese president on Tuesday. On the NAFTA front, talks have entered a new intensive phase of discussions and will continue in the coming days. There is speculation that progress will be announced at the Summit of the Americas at the end of the week. This week also marks the start of the first quarter earnings season on Wall Street, which analysts have been hoping would take market focus away from trade wars and put it on strong corporate profits. The Fed meeting minutes will be released on Wednesday at 2 p.m. Fed Chief Jerome Powell said on Friday that the Fed will likely need to keep raising interest rates this year to keep inflation under control. He added that it was too soon to know if the trade issue would take toll on the economy. The Commerce Department will post March inflation figures at 8:30 a.m. Eastern on Wednesday. Analysts expect consumer prices to post a flat recording, weakening from February's 0.2% increase, while core inflation is forecasted to inch up by approximately 0.2, which is the same as its rise a month earlier. On a yearly basis, core CPI is projected to climb 2.1%, a little faster than the 1.8% gain recorded in the previous reading. China is to release March trade figures on Friday morning. The report is expected to show that the country's trade surplus narrowed slightly to 27.2 billion last month from a surplus of around 33.7 billion in February. China is also publishing their reports on March consumer and producer inflation on Wednesday. So again, definitely a lot to keep an eye on for this next week. And here is the economic calendar right here. So we don't have anything scheduled tomorrow. Tuesday, we have PPI, we have wholesale inventories. Wednesday, we have CPI, core CPI, Fed budget, FOMC minutes. Thursday, we have weekly jobless claims. Friday, we have consumer sentiment. So definitely a lot of data coming out this week. And then as far as just some tickers that I am keeping an eye on, in the room I told you guys I bought WWE when I saw those sweeps. And let me double check and see when those sweeps were. Tim, I don't know if you were in the room that day actually.
I didn't. I missed. We had talked about it after you bought it. I thought it was an odd choice for you.
I bought it on Thursday, so those sweeps came in, and it's one of those names that doesn't really get sweeps often, but anytime I've bought on sweeps, it's worked out really nicely. So I bought on Thursday, which was right here. I'm definitely green on those. I know that today, actually, where is this thing? They are meeting, or they were meeting with a firm yesterday and today, I believe. So I will be looking to flip those probably tomorrow morning, just depending on what the price does. But WWE, I am in that. Definitely going to keep an eye on that. NTAP. NTAP, I'm keeping an eye on just because there was a lot of flow, um, unusual kind of flow. So these came in on the 2nd and the 3rd and the 5th. We had some flow come in. Let's look at news. On the 6th, which was Friday, they got a price target increase at BMO from 63 to 73. So I'm definitely going to keep a little bit, I'm going to keep a closer eye on this one. I wanted to buy this one. I did not buy it, but I will be keeping an eye on NTAP. Here's your weekly on it. Actually made a pretty nice move there. Kind of closed at support, or what I would call support. So I definitely like that. Let's see what else I have. So that's the line that I have on it, which is going to be at 6308. Amazon, I saw some tweets or I saw something in the news where Amazon was still getting some heat. We'll say heat. Amazon, I will tell you guys, I've gotten this question a lot. A lot of people have sent me DMs asking me about Amazon and what I think Amazon's going to do longer term. To be honest with you, I have no idea. I don't know which way it's going to go. What I can tell you is that I love the swings. If we're looking, this is a year chart that I pulled up for you. Above, let's say 1350. So 1350 would put us right around here. It's a little bit under 1350. I like it around that 1350. Like as long as it stays above 1350, I'm good with it. And this is a range play for me. So it's not something that I'm looking to necessarily swing for more than an overnight hold if depending on what the market's looking like. But I like playing the intraday ranges. So as far as Amazon is concerned, I think that if things settle down, it has potential to get back up to that 52-week high, but we do need things to settle down a little bit. Tim, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that one at all. I know you can't really
Well,
see a chart or anything.
yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is going into earnings season, Amazon will usually run, and usually it's, Trump's just got to quit tweeting about it. It led, I mean, the last quarter was kick ass. It helped lead the way to all time highs. So Trump just needs to stay off the Twitter.
I agree. The next one that I keep getting a lot of questions about is NVIDIA. So here's NVIDIA. We know Andrew hit them last week. If you guys know me, you know that I'm not a fan of Andrew in any way, shape, or form. I can't hate the guy for trying to make a buck, but geez. He went after NVIDIA. I think that was Thursday, wasn't it? Was it Wednesday or Thursday? One of those 2 days. NVIDIA moved up, came back down on Thursday. It hit a low, but closed actually better than I expected. Friday, it hit a low of 213. I don't like that. That I definitely don't like. Do I think it can get lower? I think that anything can get lower. However, I still see it staying above, let's say, 205 to 210-ish. I know it's close, but I think that that's probably, let's actually look at a year. So here's the year on it. Yeah, if you look over here, I've got a little bit of support at 213.77. And again, around that 205 area, 203 to 205 area before you hit 200. So there are some levels of support. Let me add a line there. There are some levels of support under here. And I just think that NVIDIA got hit by that guy in the news that they were suspending their autonomous driving thing for, temporarily. But I'm still bullish NVIDIA. I love NVIDIA. I think that it can move back up. Things just have to settle down as with everything else. Tim, another one that we played in the room on Friday was Tesla. Tesla has been a lot of fun this past couple of weeks. So
I
Tesla,
missed it.
we caught a nice, actually first thing in the morning, we caught it long. We actually played it a couple times. We caught a long, and we caught it short, caught a little bit more of a long, and then caught it short again. So definitely played Tesla quite a bit on Friday. And again, just like with Amazon, this is a range play. I'm not looking beyond the short, very, very, very short term. And that's usually intraday. Like Tim will tell you, I don't even like swinging in Tesla. We will occasionally, but I tend to not even swing it. But again, that fits my personal style of trading. Tim, did you have anything to add at all?
No, I just wish I hadn't missed the fun on Friday.
It was definitely a lot of fun. It actually closed under 300, right under 300, 299.30, hit a high of 309.28,
But that's
and then
not bad
reversed.
considering
Yeah.
that day we had Friday. I would have expected Tesla to have been at 288, 285.
It's not a bad close at all. Like if I'm looking at the chart, you've got some solid support around 295 to 296. So yeah, it's close to that support line, but you see that we've got multiple points of support. It's also previous resistance. So definitely there's some support there. Could it break under it? Absolutely. Given market conditions and headlines and stuff like that, it absolutely could break under it. But I think that it will probably do what it likes to do, and that's test that line continuously and then bounce off of it. But still, it's a great range play. At least I mean, that's what I like it for. The other one that we picked up on Friday was LLL. That is a tech money play. We picked it up pretty much at the low, or at least when I picked it up, it was almost at the low. Picked it up. Those are slightly green. We're going to keep an eye on that one. That is, again, L3 Technologies. The ticker on that is LLL. The other tech money play that we picked up was SAP. Tim, I don't think normally we don't trade this one very often, but Tech Money did a lot of research on this one, and it seems like it'll be a solid play. They have ER in May, kind of like the spot on it. We picked that up on Friday. I'm actually a little bit red on those. I was impatient. I should have waited just a little bit longer and I could have gotten in at a better price. But I like this level of support. One thing to keep in mind underneath this level is that at least on the weekly, there was a slight gap up, as with most things, between Wednesday and Thursday. So could it fill that gap? Absolutely. I did go in really small, just a couple contracts as a starter position. And Boeing, Tim, I was not very happy with Boeing. I mean, we played it. There's actually a lot of people in the room that played puts on it. They made really good money on that one. I did not short. Well, I'm sorry. I think I did short it once, maybe twice on Friday. I'd have to go back and check. But Boeing closed at 326.12, back under that 330. So we know that that 330 has given us a heck of a time. I feel like that 330 line was critical.
I'm surprised still with the tweet that came out Thursday. Honestly, I'm surprised Boeing's at 326. If you remember, I think it was Wednesday morning or Tuesday morning, some morning last week, it hit 306. So for it to actually crawl
Yeah,
back to 330 and close at 326, I'm actually, that's bullish to me. As
you're
much as the
right.
Dow was down, bullish.
That's true. That's a really good point. I guess what I was looking at was the fact that we finally got over that 330 and it gave it back pretty quickly, which is fine. I think above even 320, it's okay. But I want to see Boeing above 330. And they do have earnings coming up. When is their earnings?
420,
Boeing?
right?
425. So a little bit of time before
425.
earnings. Yeah, a little bit of time before earnings. And I kind of wish, I mean, I love playing Boeing up to earnings. I kind of wish that we weren't having all this trade war stuff like talk headlines happening because this is usually a pretty solid earnings play.
I agree.
But those headlines, it's not like, I mean, well, I guess those headlines make me slightly hesitant to go into Boeing particularly. So definitely going to keep an eye on it. We'll play it, and hopefully things will settle down as far as headlines are concerned before earnings, so that we can catch at least a little bit of a run. The other one that I had gotten a few DMs on, actually there were three more. Apple Tim closed back under 170. I like it above 170. We had talked a little bit last week or during the week on one of our daily recaps. It's like you're hesitant to buy it under 170, but then once it gets above 170, you ask yourself like, why didn't I buy it under 170? So kind of in the same situation again. I think this is one I'm just going to keep an eye on for the time being. Yeah, let's keep an eye on this one for right now. So I think that I wish I had a little bit more support closer to that 170. I mean, there is support right under 170, but I wish it was just a little bit more. Either that or I'd like an entry like around 167, 165 to 167. So definitely keeping an eye there as well. The other one, Netflix, Tim. Netflix has earnings coming up, closed at
416.
288.85. Yep. 288.85 was the close on Netflix. And double top on the weekly. If you're looking up here, we got a top here and a top here. Tried for that 300, just couldn't get through it. Market got rolled over and took a dip. So again, for an intraday play or for a really short-term play, if we get some momentum to the upside or downside, there is range to play for sure. And AMD, I got a DM on AMD asking me to look at it. I have a support line around 950. I want it above 950. I prefer it above 10. I don't like it under 10. So again, AMD, I want to see it over 10 and I want to see it hold that 10. I don't want to see it back under it. So right now, I'm still holding half the position that I had in it, long calls, and those are for July. So I do have short-term puts on it as well, just in case. So I'm going to hang on to those for just a little bit more. If it breaks back under, if it drops under 950, I will sell another quarter. So I'll be 75% out. So AMD is still holding half the position. Above 950, I'm okay with it. Under 950, I will go ahead and close out some of it. So those were the main tickers that I had people asking me about. Let me find this thing. Again, we went over the economic calendar. We have a first quarter earnings starting next week. So on Monday, SIGM and SLP are after hours. Tuesday, we have MSM pre-market. Wednesday, we have BBBY and pre-market and fast after hours. Thursday, we have OZRK, BlackRock, Rite Aid, nothing after hours. And then Friday is when we actually start, I believe, the actual next earnings season. We have Citibank, JP Morgan, PNC, and Wells Fargo. And I know that the Citi, JPM, and Wells Fargo, all three have seen flow. So there's definitely people placing some bets ahead of earnings. And as far as conferences are concerned, I don't have any actual conferences this week. We do have some notable annual meetings. We have Goodyear Tire on the 9th, TCL Carnival Cruise Lines on the 11th, Adobe and Boyd Gaming on the 12th, FCAU and Race on the 13th. So that those could be some potential ones to keep an eye on. And we also have sales reports this week. Cost on the 11th. So Costco, Zumzi, Limited Brands, and Buckle all have their earnings, or not earnings, their sales numbers coming out on the 11th. So that is what I had as far as stuff that's going to move. We didn't really put together a whole bunch of tickers this week just because, to be honest with you, we don't really know what's going to happen. We really have no idea what's going to happen next week. And we didn't really think it was fair to come out and give you guys a bunch of tickers and not really know or have a clear direction and then have somebody potentially make a play on that and it not be a good play, or at least a confident play, if that makes sense. Tim, did you have stuff that you wanted to add before we start taking questions?
I mean, my guess is that going into earnings season and everything, and Trump's tone Saturday, which we know changes from day to day, my guess is a bunch of people probably played a lot of puts on Friday, and they'll probably regret it tomorrow. But I'm guessing here. I'm speculating. It does look like Trump wanted to tone it down some. So hopefully he keeps it that way, because we've seen him do the same thing with Amazon. One day, all right, no more about Amazon. The next day, more about Amazon. So we'll see. That's really all I have
Awesome.
to say.
All right, guys, send us your tickers real quick. Tell us what tickers you want us to take a look at.
Somebody wants to know how long we're going to keep at AMRS. I intend to hold AMRS. We've got September's, and I intend to hold the whole way.
Yep, I agree. You know the other one, Tim, we talked about it a little bit ago. Ari, ARRY. Oops, too many R's.
Right.
ARRY. That one actually saw some flow last week. Let me see if I can pull that one up. Not a huge, well, not like a bunch of different sweeps, but there was, I'm sorry, no, they're not even sweeps, they're blocks. Don't know if they're tied, but June 18s and June 17s, 5,000 contracts on the 18s. So that's a $500,000 order. And then a smaller block, 53,000 for the 17s. Same expiration.
Got a question there. When do you guys decide to take losses? Everybody's different on that. Sometimes it's at 10%. It could be 20%. Sometimes we'll cut. We'll let stuff ride even lower. Not that it's smart to, but just depending on what's coming up or something. Sometimes we will let it go. But I mean, you should never go by somebody else's pain threshold. When you feel uncomfortable with a trade, you should cut it. I don't wait for anybody else to cut long. When I'm up or down. Once I'm happy, either direction or sad, then it's time to cut. So yeah, that would be my answer to that as well.
The other one that I see a question on is MU. MU. I'm still in MU, guys. I still have calls for MU. I could have gotten out of them greener, on Wednesday, but I didn't. So I'm still in MU. MU closed at 48.46, and I'm okay with it. I've got 52.50s for May, and I'm gonna hang on to those. I'm not really too worried about them. If we break under, let me actually get like a 6 month pull up. So yeah, I mean it kind of held that support. Unless it were to break down or break under about 46, maybe even 45.50, I plan on staying in. So MU, I am still holding. I am in those. I love MU long term. I know they got hit by that report. I actually read an article on Friday about that report that was kind of interesting. It was about the UBS report. There was another author, Seeking Alpha author that went through it, read it, and actually kind of, I don't want to say they like completely tore apart the UBS analyst report. They didn't, but they pointed out a lot of things within that report that actually indicated that MU was bullish, even though the report itself is bearish. So MU, I still like it. I am still in it, holding on for the time being.
Will you guys own Boeing going into ER? We will play Boeing going into ER several times. Usually we play it 3 or 4 times a week, sometimes daily. I don't right now. I'm not comfortable. I won't hold it through an ER. No. Would I swing it for a couple days? Depends. If we everything straightens out with China, I would probably swing it into ER, but I would not hold through.
I agree with that.
That
I'm not
helps.
going to hold through ER. But intraday plays, absolutely. We can keep a hold on, you keep a hold of, or we can keep playing it intraday. ILG, someone just asked me about ILG. ILG actually had a bunch of flow. Let me get the week pulled up. You see a couple of these asks were above the ask. They were looking, or this one was the June 34s above the ask. So ILG is definitely an interesting one. I looked at it. I did not actually buy it. I wanted to buy it. I don't know if I just got distracted, but I did not buy it. However, it is one that I will continue to watch. And if I can catch an entry, let me look at the longer term chart. Or not longer, but I mean like, a week. So here's the weekly on it. Yeah, I could have bought into that. That would have been nice. If you played it, congratulations. Awesome job. If you caught it at the right time. So ILG, definitely just keeping an eye on it. But no, I did not buy it.
Somebody wants to know about ARQL. I missed most of last week, Maria. You'll have to look at that one.
Let's look at ARQL. So ARQL was down 10 cents, I believe, on Friday. I want to look a little bit further out. Looking at a 6 month, it's actually still okay, in my opinion. I think it's all right, but it's actually right around that line where I would say if it crosses under it, I'd be careful. You might have, maybe 10 cents more to play with, 10 to 12 cents more, but it's okay. I would have wanted it to bounce off of that 294-ish, 290 to 294 level. But again, above about let's say 270, what is this line? 272 to 275. If it stays above that, I'd be okay with it. If you're looking for a longer term hold, but again, please be careful with it.
Maria, somebody wants to know, are we going to play weekly calls on Netflix with coming out next Monday? I will probably play Netflix this week. I don't know I'm not swinging into just like Boeing. I will probably play going into though. If the market's, semi-stable anyway.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I love Netflix for the range that it gives us. I'm a scalper, so if there's a wider range, that is beautiful for me. I love that. I love the range. I love the up down action. It allows me to get in and out quickly and make a little bit of money on it. So the next one, someone's asking me about QQQ. Wow, I've got lots of lines on QQQ, huh? Sorry, guys. Oops, let's go one day. No, I don't know why I have all these lines on here, but I've got a crap ton of lines on here. The Q's closed at 156.63 on Friday. Obviously broke down. What's going to happen with it, I have no idea. If I could get some of these lines taken off, maybe we can see it a little bit clearer. So, I have this bottom line down at that February low. It's at around 150, 149 and change or so. And it is still holding fairly well. So could it come down and test? It could, but I think ultimately it's going to just depend on what the market gives us. The Qs, if you look at the holdings, a lot of those are those high beta names. So especially tech tends to get hit hard if the market's going down. I think a lot of it will just depend on what the market does. I love playing the Qs. I play it daily, every single day. I'm scalping it. As for me, what I'm looking for is I'm just looking for the direction, and I'll play it either way, up or down. So as far as holding it longer term, I'm not comfortable holding it longer term. Um, and I actually get this question a lot. I get it on SPY, the Qs, UVXY, TVIX, well, TVIX shares, but those three especially. DIA, I get it on. IWM, I get it on. So a lot of the indice ETFs, for me, I was always taught that ETFs, especially if they're leveraged, are meant to be day traded. They're not meant to be held longer time.
Also, somebody wants to know, why aren't there options on Spotify? You will have to wait 30 days after it goes public before you'll see options on it.
And Spot actually hit a low last week of 135.51, closed Friday at 147.92. That's actually pretty interesting. And I read something, I'll have to find it. I read something that said that there were more and more firms coming out bullish on Spot. So I will keep an eye on Spot. So we'll definitely keep an eye on it.
Maria, is there anything else?
I see a question here about Facebook. So Facebook, back under 160. I would have liked to see it keep or stay above that 160. Zuck is going in front of Senate, I believe, this week. So definitely I'm going to keep an eye on it. I'm not holding calls right now. We did get out of our swing green last week. We will watch for movement when he goes to appear before Senate. The next question I see is on Microsoft. Microsoft, we are still holding. It was, made a gorgeous move above 90, came back down, actually closed right above 90. 90.23 was the close, down a couple bucks on Friday. We are still in for the time being. So we will continue to keep an eye on that one as well. And the next question I see is on Intel. Now, Intel is back under 50. I definitely like it above 50 better.
Maria, is there anything else?
I have one more question. Someone's asking me about COP, those Conoco fill-up ones. I'm out of those. I sold the rest of them on Friday. Right at the open, I got out and it came back down. It's, those kind of plays, energy plays. I like energy still, but they're very, very sensitive, especially, oil. It's very, very sensitive to the price of oil. So it wasn't something that I was looking to hold on to for too long, and I am completely out of those. So before we wrap up, does anybody have any other questions?
And I want to
I
thank D
think,
Max for helping me read the questions tonight because
oh, thank you, DMAC. I appreciate it. We all appreciate it. And Tim, once again, thanks for joining us while you're driving. I think that's awesome. Guys, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it. If you have questions, don't hesitate to ask us. You can find us on Twitter, StockTwits. If you're on Discord, if you're a member, you can find us on the main site or in Discord. Or I think I just said Discord, didn't I? That's what I meant. Or, if you have questions and you're not a member and you can't find us, you can also respond in the comments on YouTube. We do monitor those. We will respond there. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do so. Like this video and go ahead and share it. Have a great day, guys. Tomorrow, just like with any other day, let the market open up, let things shake out, let the market show you what direction it wants to take, and then jump in. Anything to add, Tim?
that's it. That's all I got.
All right, guys. Have a great night. Thank you for joining us. We will see you bright and early tomorrow morning. Take care. Bye.